Hello, John.
Hello, Oliver.
So we're going to talk about the importance of birds for our mental health. There's been many studies done over the years to show that where we have birds in a location, the mental health will be much better. And I think there was an article you've seen or something.
There is, yeah.
So go ahead there.
There was a research done by a reputable company in that area, and they found that people that didn't have birds, the birds in the wild, like the robin, the robin and the various other birds, even the sparrows, but they don't sing, but at least there's a noise out of them, and the blackbirds and thrushes and the various other birds that make lovely music. I might put it down that that's adoration to God, the Creator. This is what they do with their lovely songs. I love the robin kind of singing. I have them where I live in a rural area, and I have no problem with the birds. And I love them, and I put food out for them. You're not hanging up anything. I just put it out on the left hand side, and then I'm around the corner for another lad, because the robins sometimes are territorial and they don't like the other robins interfering with their area. So you get to know all these things, and the same with blackbirds and thrushes. You'll often see two blackbirds, and one is trying to run the other fella from getting the food. Do you know? So to have their own little vagaries, and I kind of see where they're at, where I'm living, and I have the time for that because I like it. Now I got my area where there was tiles, I got concrete, and I don't know if the birds is used to it, because sometimes at certain times of the year they head off somewhere and they don't seem to be around much. Mm-hmm. But I notice blackbirds now and thrushes are around, and I heard a robin there lately, so he must be around. And but whether they're not used to the concrete by way of the food, but they get used to it, because when it gets colder, by goodness, they're at the door when I open the door. Yes, sorry. And then there's little goldfinches as well. They're at the same racket, and sometimes I put something up in the sink, or not the sink, the windowsill, and they hop up for that. But then so does the other yolks. And sometimes one of those, not crows, those black and white birds, what do you call magpies, they come around, but I run them. Oh no, I won't let them interfere with them. If you turn your back, they're there. But
so, well, one thing I've noticed anyway about birds, okay, in Dublin there seems to be, as a child I used to be a keen bird watcher, and I used to know all the different types of finches, okay?
Yeah.
And growing up in Dublin, there was a lot of birds. As I say, I was a bird watcher. I had my bird table as a child, okay? And what I've noticed is there seems to be a decline in birds. I don't see the type of birds I used to see anymore. The other thing as well is if you go to places like the Botanic Gardens, you won't see many birds. If you go to Powerscourt Gardens in Wicklow, you won't see any birds. If you go to the Phoenix Park, you won't see many birds.
No.
Okay? If you go to any of these lovely parks, if you go to Marley Park, which is a lovely park, you won't see many birds.
That's extraordinary.
The question is why?
Well, then there must be putting down kind of, how would you call it, Roundup or something to deal with whatever they deal with in their flower beds. But that's a very dangerous thing, because it's poison for birds.
I think what's happening is it's a mixture of those things, but it's also that the chemicals maybe are killing the insects, and there's nothing for the birds to eat.
Correct.
And if there's no feast at the table, well, there won't be any guests.
That's right.
And I think that's part of it. The other part of it, I think, is that companies that put down rat poison, the birds eat rat poison.
And then that kills them.
That kills.
Yeah, and that's right, because when we were young, my father, Lord of Mercy, used to sort of say, oh, there's a hawk there. So you knew that they attack little mice, and they often attack sparrows and birds. So they're like killers, if you like, in the bird life. But the fact that in Dublin you have all these apartment blocks, I noticed there where the trains are in Houston Station. It used to be known as Kingsbridge in my time, but now it's Houston. there's apartments there overlooking the railway tracks. About the worst place you could have apartments. You wouldn't hear a bird there if you lived to be 1,000. Because would there be nowhere for them to go? The only sort of bird that you might have is a canary in a cage. And that's the only thing, and people have canaries in cages in these places because they're singing. And it's good because this study that said that there was there's a shortage of birds or there's no birds, that people suffer from depression and mental health problems.
Yeah.
So I'm not surprised because nature provides the sort of gifts that we need. And that's one great advantage with living where I live. I have surrounded by birds, and I like it. I know in the city I don't hear them, and I notice in some of the hot countries you don't see them. In Spain there's a scarcity of them, and because of the heat, they haven't food. You see, so and birds, you see an odd blackbird, especially where there's houses that have gardens, like some detached houses. But you won't see them then in other places unless you have a canary in a cage. So the fact that and trees have been cut down, hedges are gone, so there's not enough for them to eat. This is why we don't have the corncrake. When I was young, you'd hear the corncrake in the distance, and you'd have these little ones in the grass, grasshoppers and all that. I don't hear grasshoppers now. Or certainly don't hear the corncrake, and what you don't hear is the cuckoo. You go to France in March and April and those times when you'll hear cuckoos everywhere. Because they don't have all this stuff that we have here putting down. And farmers are putting down all sorts of stuff to grow stuff. And so birds then haven't got the fodder that they need.
Yeah, I was over in Malahide there during the week, and I came across this lovely house, and there was a pile of finches. I love the bird. The finch is a lovely little bird.
Yeah,
there was a pile of them having a feast, and I was looking. What kind of a beautiful shrub is that? It was what's called a firethorn. So the firethorn is like it's a hedgerow, and has all these tiny little yellow bulbs and little fruits on it, right? And the birds love it. Okay.
They do.
So one thing we can do to help the birds is maybe grow fruit trees and trees that have some bit of fruit on it for the bird to eat.
Correct.
And that way we would encourage big bird populations because they'd have loads of food.
That's right. Well, we have them now where I am. There's these little reddish berries, and I noticed that birds are eating those.
Yeah.
And sometimes knocking them off the thing to get them on the ground.
Yeah. And so we have a tree in our front garden, okay? And what happens is when it gets really, really cold, there's fruit on it I think it's about 6 months of the year. But so when it gets really, really ice cold in December, there's nothing for the birds to eat. They always come back to this tree, okay? And what happens in the frost, I done a bit of research on the tree. What happens, the frost makes the fruit sweet, and the birds actually like it then. So they stay away from it all the rest of the year because it's bitter. But the frost changes whatever chemical thing is inside the little fruit, okay? It becomes sweet. And then they actually have a little feast when there's nothing else to eat in December and January.
There you are, you see. So trees have a purpose.
They do.
Which is good.
Yeah.
Because you've got to have, like everything else, like food, in nature it has to be balanced. So for that one, now funny enough, farmers have got grants to have what they call a couple of acres, so that bees and can be for nature, birds and all the rest of it, where they're not putting in anything, and it's ideal. And the farmer beside me has 2 acres for that purpose, and it's very good. And also in the front, where they have a big field, and they let the grass grow or whatever it is, and it's also beneficial for wildlife because what's in the ground has a chance of coming up, like what the birds eat. And you see, I see them on my place. They're at the ground, and the blackbirds are walking around like as if they have sound radar, and then they're digging. and getting what they need, which is the worms and all the rest of it.
Very good. Thank you very much, Sean.
Thank you very much, Oliver.